All right, my lovelies, mountain lilies, sugar lilies, right? Moonflowers, sunflower, right? Dudes, lads, and lords. Let's go. More interviews we have to look at. Oh, tons more. Now at some point we got to go back to the Moscow police documents and finish those up. But hey, let's see who the next interviewee is. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. All right, here we go. So we got a white female. 21. All right, let's see. Let's see what this one is. Let's see what this one is. Yes. Okay. So, narrative. And Mr. Millar. Okay, November 18th, 5 days again after the unaliving. At 11:08, ISP investigators Lieutenant Kaylee and I interviewed The interview took place at the Idaho State Police Department in Meridian. Her father was also present for the interview. During the interview, stated the following. She lived at in Moscow, Idaho during the incident. Her backyard abutted the 1122 King Road house. Backyard. She knew Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana. She did not know Ethan. She was closest with Maddie and Kaylee. She was in the sorority with Kaylee. Okay, right. Pi-Phi's at the Pi-Phi. She was in the I don't know. She was in the same sorority as Kaylee, right? The rest of that house was in the sorority. Kaylee had dropped the sorority house membership that year due to financial cost. Now we hear it's due to financial cost. Before, it was due to personality differences with the way the head sorority people were running things, right? The original thing was Kaylee didn't want to be told what to do. Neither did Maddie. That was the other explanation. Now it's due to financial cost that she dropped out. Okay. Maybe it's a combination of the two. I don't know. Whatever. Kaylee was out of town most of the week, but had decided to come back near the end of the week because Dylan fucking got her to the ball to go to the Pi Formal on Friday, November 11th with Dylan. Friday night, Kaylee had asked her to go to the club, which she did not. She did go out Saturday to a game day celebration at about 2 to 2:30 p.m. at the big apartment. She left and went to the game at approximately 4:40 p.m. while Kaylee and Maddie stayed at the party. Was that at the Whites or something? I don't know, maybe. Saturday night, she went to the Dirty Goat. How many fucking bars are in Moscow? They must have 20 bars in Moscow. Dirty Goat, the Alley, the Corner Club. Now we're hearing about the Dirty Goat. My God. Saturday night, she went to the Dirty Goat, a local bar. Kaylee contacted her and wanted her to go to the Corner Club. She met Kaylee at the Corner Club around 11 p.m. Kaylee, Maddie, and a lot of other people were there. She had a small run-in with at the Corner Club. Was now, right? Cole. Had a small run-in with Cole at the Corner Club. Cole was kicked out of the bar around the same time or not too long before Maddie and Kaylee left the Corner Club. She stayed at the Corner Club until approximately 2 a.m. and arrived home at approximately 2:30 a.m. She was up until 3:30 a.m. approximately and did not hear anything. Again. Nobody is hearing anything. Again and again. Now, guys, at some point you have to ask right, Garden? Some point you have to ask yourself. Somebody must have heard something, correct? I mean, not everybody who lives right next to them. It's impossible they couldn't have heard any. I don't fucking believe it. No. But here we are again. Nobody heard anything. Fucking ridiculous. She woke up Sunday morning bright as a peach at approximately 7:30 a.m. and was talking to Dylan. No, I don't know. She had been in a different room than her own. Okay. She had been in a different room than her own. Where was she? Okay. She and roommates made breakfast at around 8:30 a.m. Later, when she went to her room, she could see a lot of police cars next door. Interesting. Interesting. She spoke with Eric, the Uber driver, who told her he was pretty sure he had taken Maddie and Kaylee home that night. Eric drove a smaller gray sedan that could appear white. Who knows? Yeah. Kaylee's old room was the room Xana was living in. Kaylee recently moved into the room on the third floor after said she was not moving back in. Okay. Kaylee did not seem at all worried about a stalker or any other dangers. She thought Kaylee would have said something if there was a real stalker. Kaylee would have been scared if she had a stalker. Instead, Kaylee was planning events for them all the time. Her bedroom window looks out onto the King Road's backyard. She can usually hear anything going on in their backyard. Murphy, the dog at the King Road house, usually barks a little bit, and she can generally hear it, which she didn't recall happening that night. Again, another witness now saying they never heard a dog barking. So whatever dog was barking on that audio, that was not Murphy. That was either that neighbor's service dog or a completely different dog altogether, right? Definitely sounds like that was not Murphy barking. Nope. It was a service dog or another type of dog. It was some type of dog like a German Shepherd, whatever. That's my opinion. Yes, indeed. All right. Didn't recall the dog barking. She had booked tickets with Kaylee to go to Europe together. That's interesting. Approximately 3 weeks prior to the unalivings, they were going to Europe. Wow. Kaylee had recently sold a white Subaru sedan for approximately $6,300 to a man using Facebook Marketplace. Kaylee had just purchased the Range Rover the previous day. Okay. Kaylee was making good money, but a Range Rover seemed expensive. Kaylee was recently offering to buy drinks for friends quite often. So we got a little money. Kaylee's making some good change. I don't know, how's she making that money, guys? Must be her job, must be, right? Or something else. But she's making good money. She just bought a Range Rover. It seemed really expensive to the friend. And not only that, now she was going out and offering to buy drinks for her friends often. Interesting. Kaylee had planned to move to Texas and had a temporary male roommate arranged down there. Yup. Second time we're hearing about that. Yes, Kaylee had an ex-boyfriend, Jack DeCour, who is her neighbor, is also this person's neighbor. Kaylee and Jack dated for almost 6 years. Yep, Kaylee and Jack dated all summer while Kaylee was up in Moscow working. Kaylee and Jack were not together but were good friends. Kaylee and Jack shared a dog, Murphy, together. Maddie had a boyfriend, Jake, in Boise, who was friends with a lot of friends who had graduated. Kaylee stayed in her old room while she was living in Moscow all summer. Kaylee only had one roommate during the summer. Kaylee worked for and ended up getting a full-time offer starting February 2023. She does not think Kaylee went out much during the summer. Had just graduated and stayed in Moscow for the summer. Okay. She did not think had anything to do with the incident. Cole. She did not think Cole. I don't know. We'll see what that is. She did not think had anything to do with the incident. Showed a video from a party earlier on game day which showed what was wearing, which appeared to be the same as a person from a video from the grub truck. Remembers Kaylee and Maddie saying they were going to John's Alley and was going to go with them. Jack Showalter was going to go with them. Good old Jack Showalter. Yes, indeed. Was not good friends with Kaylee and Maddie, but Maddie is kind of friends with a lot of the people involved with the Greek houses. Is in the same pledge class year as Kaylee and Maddie and has been in a lot of their classes. Blank blank showed a screenshot of group message about a showed a screenshot of a group message obtained by The author of the message seemed to know a lot of information regarding the unalivings. Who is this? Who are these people? The author of the message seemed to know a lot of information regarding the unalivings. Had read some creepy comments on YouTube and obtained screenshots of some of them. Turned over a flash drive with some of the comments. People often use the sliding door as the main entrance for the house. She does not think it was usually locked. Kaylee and Maddie didn't use any substances. She didn't know Xana well enough to comment on her. The neighbors' dogs behind them also did not bark at anything that night. Weird. Okay, the interview ended at approximately 11:53 a.m. All right, for details, review audio recording of the interview. The audio was copied on the flash drive and submitted into evidence under tag number item 1. All right, there you go. There you go. Not sure who that is, but there you go. Kind of the same that we read before. All right, on to the next one. What do we got? Who we got coming up next here? Who is next? Witness. Oh, okay, we got a white male this time, 22. And we are on page 30. Yeah, come on, guys. Oh, my God. So this, yeah, okay. So we have a 22-year-old male, Matt Wernsing. All right, let's see what this one says. Hey, you never know what you're gonna get. I'll tell you, with the Idaho State Police. Oh my God. All right, guys, let's see. All right, November 18th. Approximately 11:36, Homeland Security Investigation Task Force Officer Sage Collins and I from Homeland Security, alrighty. All right, me, Matt Wernsing, interviewed date of birth 2000 in regard to the unalivings of the four. All right. The interview took place at their home, located in Parma Canyon County, Idaho. The following is a summary of their statement. Was a friend of Kaylee and Maddie's and was also their neighbor across the street at the King Road address in Moscow. He did not know the other two victims. Just Kaylee and Maddie, right? Yeah. Kaylee was in an on and off dating relationship with one of roommates, Jack DeCore. were in the same fraternity. Also knew Maddie's boyfriend, Jake, but he had graduated and was living in Boise. He knew Kaylee a little more than Maddie because she had dated and he said their relationship remained amicable. Yeah. Okay. And his girlfriend, were at the house on Saturday, November 12th. Went to the victim's house around 10 p.m. At approximately 10:45 p.m., Kaylee and Maddie got a ride to the Corner Club bar located there. Believe they got a ride from an Uber driver named Eric. He and his friends went to the Corner Club shortly after the girls left. Okay. After approximately an hour, spoke with Kaylee and Maddie briefly while at the Corner Club before they left. Okay. Told the two girls were going to John's Alley's Tavern located there. Saw they were hanging out with another student he identified as Jack Showalter and saw them leave the Corner Club with him. Told the two girls did not typically hang out with him, and thought it was odd that they were hanging out. I guess with Jack Showalter, right? And walked to house at approximately 1:30 a.m. and stayed there. They woke up the next morning, Sunday, November 13th, went and got breakfast, and drove to his house at approximately 11:45 a.m. There was only one police vehicle in front of the residence when they drove by. Went outside with and another roommate and watched more law enforcement respond to the scene. Ran to the victim's house and was there for approximately an hour and a half before returning. Was visibly upset and told some of the girls had died and Kaylee was one of them. Left Moscow later on Sunday. Oh my God. Clarified he and blank went to the grub truck on their way from the Corner Club to house. He also saw on social media Kaylee and Maddie went to the grub truck after he were there. Thought they may have been at the grub truck between 3 and 3:30 a.m. based on when they posted to their social media. Interesting. The grub truck broadcast a live feed that captured the two girls at the truck. Thought it was odd that spent so much time around the two girls. Thought it was odd that Showalter spent so much time around the two girls. That's how I'm reading that. Had heard may have committed the murder. Okay. Had heard may have committed the unaliving, but said went home with their other roommates and blank. When he and left the Corner Club. Fuck. Fourth roommate blank worked at blank, but would have gone home around 4 a.m. after closing down. There was also two more students that lived above and that were hanging out with and before they all went to bed. What the fuck? Told he had been woken up between 4 and 4:45 a.m. because and Kaylee's dog had been barking very loudly and uncontrollably. It sounded as though the dog was outside which was odd because of how cold it was and the dog not being an outside dog. Did not know the two roommates that were not injured and found it odd that they were sitting in their rooms and slept through the incident. I'm liking whoever this witness is. Yeah, we all do, right? Yeah, he found it odd that they were just sitting in their rooms and slept through the incident. And we know that's not true. Was not aware of any of the victims any of the victims had a stalker. He mentioned a stalker from earlier in the year that lived in the apartments, the Whites, that had already been reported to the police. Well, gee, I wonder what they did with that. Moscow, Idaho. What'd you do with that? Tip. All right, the interview was concluded at 12:09. Okay, for further, Interesting. Very interesting. All right, guys. Very interesting one there. Jeez. Whoever that was seems to have got some extra information that we haven't heard yet. All right. Let's see what we got. All right. Next up, we got a 21-year-old female. Let's see what this one has to say, and if we can decipher who it is. All right, so here we go. And we're on 34. Okay. Yeah. Hope you guys are drinking some good coffee this morning. So where are we at now? Again, November 18th, Homeland Security again. Sage Collins and I interviewed All right. In regard to the unalivings of the four. This interview took place also in Parma Canyon, Idaho, with the boyfriend. The following is a summary. I guess this is his girlfriend. I don't know. On Saturday, November 12th, was at College House, located at that address in the King Road in Moscow, Idaho. She called Kaylee at approximately 10 p.m. and went over to her house. Maddie came home from the house shortly after. Right. Kaylee had contacted a man by the name of Eric to give them a ride from their house. Did not know Eric's last name, but provided his phone number as that. When Eric arrived to pick them up, Kaylee got in the front seat, and Mogan got in the back seat. Okay, so this is the female that went with them to the corner club. This is the the other female, which I cannot remember her name. You guys know it though. Eric had recently had a baby, and asked him how fatherhood was. Said Eric was feeling down about it and let out a big sigh. He said it was harder than he'd expected and had been kind of hard on him. He also said his wife and kid were out of town and he was excited to have the house to himself for the weekend. Okay. All right. Eric dropped the girls off at the current corner club and told them he would be driving until 3 a.m. 3 a.m. All right. Blank, blank. Wow. This whole first is blanked out, and blank, blank were friends of the girls and were already at the bar. Wow. I mean, I don't know. What the fuck? How many are there? Blank told blank he would also go to the corner club. Oh, gosh. Shared a class with a guy named who was also at the corner club. Began creeping who out by staring at her and making comments to her. Is this a Cole we're talking about? Yes. Right? Staring at her and making comments to her. Also spoke to saying he needed to get her goddamn phone number right now and was being kind of aggressive. Hung around the girls at the bar for a while. Okay. She said Kaylee and Maddie left to go to John's Alley in Moscow and heard Jack Showalter went with them. She didn't see him leave with the girls, but thought it would be weird if it was true. Now, are they talking about Jack Showalter or this Cole character? Well, anyway, it would be weird if it was true that they were going with this person. The girls had apparently asked Jack Showalter to go with them as well. No, excuse me, that's not Jack Showalter. The girls had apparently asked to go with them as well, but he stayed at the corner club. Left the corner club with at approximately 1:15 a.m. and went to the grub truck. They got food at the grub truck and went to M's house in Moscow to eat and go to bed. I asked this person why it would have been odd for the girls to leave with She said was not someone she or the other girls hung out with because he was weird. He smoked a lot of pot, had a temper, and fought a lot. The girls knew because he was a member of that fraternity. Maddie's boyfriend was also and the sororities would often hang out with the frats. I don't know, it's in quotes. Kaylee and Maddie had sent videos of themselves at the grub truck to a Snapchat group around 2 a.m. Okay, so is that what Kaylee was doing at the grub truck? You know, when we see her into her phone, waiting at the grub truck counter there. All right. Had not heard of Kaylee having a stalker. She said the victims were pretty well liked and did not know of any issues the victims had with anybody. Thought may have been working at the corner club the night of the incident, as well as and lots of I don't know, names in here, guys. Jeez. Okay, she also said there was a lot of Instagram accounts that were surfacing. The accounts had few followers, but were following many of the girls and making comments such as, "You're next," "Thank God they're gone," and "I'm going to do it again." Yeah. Now, Brian's not making these accounts. Somebody's making these accounts that already knew what happened. "You're next. They're going to get you for this." Right, Jack Showalter? They're going to get you for this. "Thank God they're gone. And I am going to do it again." Could be all troll, but I don't know. Thought involvement with the sorority girls was odd. So she thought whose involvement with the sorority girls was odd. He would frequently drop off other rides for them and gave them his personal phone number. Okay, Eric. So she thought Eric's involvement with the sorority girls was odd. The Uber driver, he would frequently drop off other rides for them and gave them his personal number. He seemed to pay particular attention members. This started with two sorority girls that had already graduated and had passed Eric's phone number on to them. The interview was concluded at 1:03 p.m. Okay. So we got a little Eric the Uber driver action here. Strange that I'm guessing it was strange for this witness to say that to see the girls hanging out with Jack Showalter. I believe that's who she's talking about. And also she felt it was strange that Eric G was friends with these girls, right? And giving them rides and personal rides and shit like that. She found that weird too. Yeah, interesting. All right. Let's see who's next here. One more, guys. Let's see who's next. Okay, who's the next one? So we got a white female, 19 years old. Let's see who this could be. Female, 19. All right, let's see. So, 5 days after the unaliving, Idaho State Police Detective Millarni interviewed at the ISP District 3 office in Meridian regarding the unalivings which occurred at the University of Idaho off campus on November 13th. This one's a quick one, but it's interesting. She's part of the sorority at the university. She knew Ethan through his fraternity. She got to know Xana through Ethan. She didn't know Kaylee or Maddie very well. She knew Ethan and Xana for 1.5 years. She currently lives at the sorority house and has never been to the 1122 King Road house. She was at the Sigma Chi fraternity house on Saturday night, November 12th, for a party. Ethan and Xana were at the party. She had never heard of any sort of stalking incidents. She was with Xana until 2 a.m. She took a picture with Xana and walked home. Ethan and Xana remained at the party. Okay, according to her, Xana and Ethan were still at that party at 2 a.m. She had no further contact with them. Xana had been dating Ethan for about a year. Everyone had a crush on Xana. Okay. She heard blank was at the 1122 King Road house after the party. Who? She heard who was at the King Road house after the frat party. Is a and a PC brother at Chapin. So who... Okay, so who was at the house after the... So who went to the house after the party? That was a PC brother of Chapin. Oh, I don't know. Oh, God, wow. The interview concluded at 2:26 p.m. Very short and sweet, but interesting. Again, wow. And again, there's no way Moscow, Idaho would have solved this on their own. Too many people, they don't understand they're being lied to. Maybe they do. Again, nobody's above board here. So who the fuck knows? All right, next witness, right? 22-year-old female. 22-year-old. Let's see what this is. Again, same day, November 18th. Wow, they're busy today. Yeah, so we got Hoxie and I, Detective Pacina, interviewed University of Idaho student had her present for the interview. Had her I have no idea, parent, attorney, take your pick. Boyfriend, I don't know. I asked to explain her day. Stated the following. She said it was game day, college football. Her and her friends attended a pregame at the apartment complex at approximately 3 p.m. The Whites? I don't know. She remembers talking to Maddie and Kaylee at the pregame and was sure she saw the rest of the roommates there. Remembers seeing Xana as well. At approximately 3:50 p.m., she said she left the pregame and went to the game that started at 4 p.m. Okay, said she was going to help Kaylee get a ticket for the game. Kaylee decided to not go to the game because Maddie was not going. After the game, she said they went to a place called Kaylee texted and asked if she was going to the corner club. Said they would go after the fights on television were over. After the fights on television were over. What fights on television? That's interesting. First time I'm hearing about watching fights on TV. That's interesting. Okay, so now we're watching fights on television. I don't know. At approximately 10:59, p.m., Kaylee texted asking if she needed a ride. Kaylee text read, "Me, Maddie, and are getting one so we can pick you up." Said she was at the corner club when she saw the message. Okay, what the fuck? So then now she's at the corner club. All right. Oh my God. At approximately 10:30 to 11, blank saw Maddie and Kaylee at the corner club. At approximately 11:30 p.m. to 12 midnight, she left the corner club with her other friend and boyfriend and went home. Blank said after they got home, her friend was drunk and she was trying to put her to bed. Her boyfriend went to bed in her room. I asked how well she knew the victims. Said she met Maddie her freshman year and knew her through mutual friends. Blank said she met Kaylee her freshman year and were both in the same sorority. Blank said Kaylee was her best friend. Said Kaylee was her best friend. Said she did not know Xana. She did not know Xana as well. Blank described her as being a big party girl and would attend the same parties as her. Xana was best friends with a lot of the frats, whatever, in quotes. The Kings, or the Kings. Are we calling them the Kings? I don't know. Maybe so. I asked if Kaylee ever mentioned if she was ever followed or talked about some weird activity recently. Blank said Kaylee had never mentioned that to her, even though they're best friends. I don't think you're best friends, but you may think you are. I don't know. I asked if Kaylee had anybody who had any issues with her, and she said Kaylee never mentioned it to her. Blank said Kaylee was the type to go out and meet random people at places like John's Alley and would get rides from random people. Well, that's always good. Said Kaylee and Jack Decor had broken up recently after a long relationship. I asked where her house was in relation to the victim's house. She said both houses shared a backyard with a chain-link fence separating the 2 yards. Sergeant Hoxie asked if she heard any strange noises. And of course she did not. Nobody heard any fucking thing, right? I asked if Kaylee had always stayed at the same apartment. Said Kaylee had stayed there all summer. Said Kaylee's room in the summer was on the main floor. At the end of the summer, Kaylee moved into the upstairs 3rd floor bedroom. Interesting. Said she heard from one of the girl's friends they went to Coeur d'Alene for a week, and when they returned, they noticed the rear sliding glass door was open. Did not know the date of that incident. Sergeant Hoxie asked about substance use. Blank said she never saw Kaylee or Maddie do any substances. She said she wasn't sure about Xana. She said they probably had, but it wasn't anything that was prominent. Blank said we should talk to some of Kernodle's friends. Yeah. I asked if there was any other information she feels we should know or any other people we should talk to. Blank said we should speak with and All right, there you go. We got to talk to a lot of people here. Yes, we do. Wow. All right, who's next? Okay, we got a male coming up, 23 years old. Male, 23. All right, guys. Wow. We'll do one more, and then we're going to leave it there. And that's where we're at. Yep. So, next up, white male, 23 years old. Date 11/21. Hoxie. So, this is on the 18th as well. Okay, here we go. All right, let's go. November 18th again, 11:34 a.m. We got Detective Pacina and I conducted an interview. Hoxie conducted an interview with The interview was in reference to the unalivings of the four at the King Road house. Okay. Reported the following during the interview. He lived at Moscow, Idaho, while attending the University of Idaho. His house was across the street from where the unalivings occurred, just across the street, in the Coliseum. Yeah. Coliseum's not exactly the right word, but we'll call it a medieval... we ain't gonna go there yet. He knew Kaylee since her freshman year at the university. Kaylee also dated his friend, Jack Decor. Jack and him were in fraternity together. Kaylee was in her sorority, which was down the road from his fraternity. He wasn't extremely close to Kaylee, but was friends with her. And Kaylee had been... So Jack and Kaylee... Here we go with Jack Decor again. Jack and Kaylee had been dating since their sophomore year in high school. He thought they attended Lake City High School in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Jack and Kaylee had been dating on and off for the last few months because she was moving to Texas or North Carolina after the semester. He didn't think Jack wanted to break up with Kaylee, but Jack was understanding. He thought Kaylee initiated the breakup. There wasn't any turmoil in their relationship, and they were still talking and hanging out together. Kaylee and Jack also had a dog together, which lived at his house last year. Didn't talk to him about his relationship with Kaylee. So Jack didn't talk to him about his relationship with Kaylee. Worked at the and the He thought might have quit the He also knew the other victims, Maddie and Xana. Xana had gone over to his house a few times to see his roommate from last year, but transferred schools to there. He didn't really talk to Maddie, but knew her by first name. The other two girls, and were younger, and he didn't really know them. He didn't know Ethan as well. The other two girls. Who would that be? Bethany and Dylan, perhaps? Yeah. He didn't know Ethan. Yeah. His house was 3 stories where he lived with all these people. And he and lived in the top floor of the house. He never noticed anything out of place near his house or the victim's house, of course. On November 12, 2020, the University of Idaho's football team was playing UC Davis at home at 4 p.m. He woke up that day, got some food, and started tailgating for the game. After tailgating, he went home and then went out to the bars. On November 12, 2022, not 2020, more mistakes. At approximately 11 p.m., he got to the Corner Club. While he was at the Corner Club, he saw Kaylee, but couldn't remember if she was with anyone. At approximately 12:30 a.m., a sober member from his fraternity arrived to drive and him home. As they were leaving the Corner Club, they were pulled over for an expired registration. The cops let them go, and he was driven home. And got home about 30 minutes after him. Okay. At his house, he hung out and drank beers with and girlfriend. After hanging out, he went to bed, which was early for him. He never heard anything of Kaylee having a stalker until after her death. Kaylee worked at where he heard she had a weird person coming in for her. She had a weird person coming in for her. He heard this information from He also heard from his girlfriend, Kaylee had a weird guy following her around Winco earlier that week. Oh, it was that week. Interesting. This information was from a third party. He wasn't aware of any of the victims using substances. He and his roommates, he never texted or called Kaylee. Okay. He wasn't aware of any recent parties at the victim's house. He wanted us to know that heard a dog barking around 4 a.m. Reported it to the police the following day after the incident. Did not have any injuries to his hands, arms, or face. We concluded the interview at 11:56 a.m. Alrighty. Wow. Just more and more and more. All right, I'll do one more in this sequence. Let's see who the next one is here. Let's see who's coming up. Okay, we got a white male, 21. Well, that doesn't matter. We got a male, 21. And let's see what this one's about. So let's go through this one, and we'll call it a video here. All right. Again, November 18th, Hoxie and Detective Pacina interviewed this person, University of Idaho student. I asked to run me through his day. He stated the following. Blank said he started his day at approximately 10:30 to 11 a.m., got some food and ate. He took his girlfriend, some beer at the treehouse. They started drinking prior to the Vandal game. At approximately 4 p.m., said he went to the game and returned home between 8 to 9 p.m. and had a sandwich. It wasn't the raw chicken guy, is it? Said he took a 2-hour nap. At approximately 11 p.m., he woke up. His roommate was wanting to go to the bar. They went to the corner club, had a few beers, and hung out. At approximately 1:45 a.m., their fraternity president picked up and drove them home. The fraternity president. After getting home, they hung out for about 15 to 20 minutes to check on his friend who had consumed too much alcohol. Yep, seems to be a good old pattern here, right? Said he went to his room where his girlfriend was already in bed. He said they talked for a bit and believed he fell asleep he went to sleep around 2:45 a.m. I asked if he heard any noises that could have woken him up, and he said no. He did say his friend, blank blank, told him he heard a dog barking between the hours of 4:15 a.m. and 5 a.m. Said it sounded like Murphy. Murphy was a dog who was shared between their two houses. Okay. Said Murphy was at the girl's house that day. I asked how close he knew the girls. He said, I'm like a handshake to them. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I asked how close he knew the girls, and he said, I'm like a handshake to them. I don't like that phrasing whatsoever. That's not how you describe something to me. You don't say, well, how close were you to the girls? And you say, well, I'm like a handshake to them. Who the fuck talks like that, guys? I've never heard anybody use that phrase to describe being close to somebody. I'm like a handshake to them. Weird. Now, what does he talk? I don't know. What does that mean? I'm like a friend to them? I don't know. Blank knew Kaylee through they had dated for a while. He never really talked to Maddie. He was friends with Xana and had met Ethan at an event called Rush. I asked if he had seen any of the victims that night, and he said he saw Kaylee and Maddie at the corner club. He said they were with Jack Showalter. He said they were heading to John's Alley. Said he heard Cole was kicked out of John's Alley. I don't know. So who was kicked? Somebody's kicked out of John's Alley now. After John's Alley, the three of them went to the grub truck, and he believed they went home afterwards. Well, they never went to John's Alley, right? That's weird. I asked if any of the victims were involved in the use of substances. He said he knew and Kaylee and Maddie had He wasn't sure if Xana Sergeant Hoxie asked if the girls had a party the night before or the day of the incident, and he said he saw a bunch of people dressed up and walking up to the house with speakers. He believed they had a formal the night before the incident. Sergeant Hoxie asked if he had heard about a stalker, and he said he had heard from Sunday night. Kaylee was followed to her car in the parking lot at the Winco. He heard Kaylee might have been followed in the store as well. Boy, everybody seems to know about this Winco incident. Weird. Sergeant Hoxie asked how he heard about the incident. Said, best friend, FaceTimed her and said, hey, there's a bunch of police officers outside. Do you know what's going on? Went upstairs and saw the officers taping off the scene. Said after the Winco thing happened, told him a couple of weeks ago all the roommates were out of the house getting groceries. When they returned, their sliding glass door was open. Here's that again. I asked if there was any other information he feels we should know about. And he said he had heard from that one of the girls was downstairs. When she opened the door, she saw a person in a ski mask, made eye contact, slammed her door, and locked it. Interview was terminated. I asked if there was any information he feels we should know. Blank said he had heard from that Dylan was downstairs. When she opened the door, she saw a person in a ski mask, made eye contact, slammed her door, and locked it. Now, one of the girls was downstairs. First floor, second floor. First floor, we're talking about Bethany Funk, correct? Right? But that's not what we've heard before. That's Dylan. Dylan's the only one, supposedly, that saw a person in a ski mask, right, and all that. Okay, there you go. Another interesting one there. And let's see who's coming up. All right, we got a female, 22 years of age coming up here. And let's see. Okay, we're going to put it right. We're going to end it right there, guys. We are at 46. Hey, we'll just keep rolling with these interviews. All kinds of interesting stuff coming out here. Everybody seems to know about that Winco incident. Everybody seems to know about the incident where they come home and the sliding glass door is unlocked and open. Everybody seems to know about those things. Weird. All right, guys, we're going to leave it off right here. And we'll pick it up with the next one. All right, babies. I love you all. Hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. Yes, it's Monday here, at least where I'm at. And I hope it's a beautiful Monday. If that's possible, I don't know. But, it's possible. All right, guys. I love you. Again, the best garden in the world. And we'll keep rolling with these interviews. So much interesting stuff coming out of here. Just so many interesting facets and nuggets and different players involved here and just all kinds of stuff. Wow. Anyway, I love you, babies. I'll talk later to you guys today. Okay, I love you all, my sugars, dudes, lads, laws, lilies, mountain laurels, my mountain laurels. I love you. Okay, bye-bye.